Yeah, I do.
No, I should just put glasses on.
Okay, do we want instruction on how to draw these?
Yes, please.
Okay,
Am I the only one?
no, we got a resounding yes. No worries, no worries. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna draw it. These proportions are obviously going to change a bit because we are working with a landscape piece and this is a square piece.
Okay.
I squared mine off.
If you want to square yours off, go for it. It's your choice. I'm going to like use the entire thing.
Oh, what do you mean by square? Put it like, make it like a frame type of thing?
Yeah, you can just
No.
like move your tape in.
I sent it to you. Okay. So.
Hey Zelda.
We need paint.
Oh, you don't have paint.
Two of us. Me and.
yeah. Oh, okay.
Oh.
Awesome. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you.
I usually spread them out. Okay, so if you wanted to square it off, you could. You just move in your tape closer till it's square, and then when you take it off, just cut off the excess. I'm going to use my whole thing. Yes. I'm gonna do this a little differently. I'm gonna centralize all the lily pads to one side and then kind of like use this as more of like a water interest piece. Because the way I'm interpreting this is that you're under the water kind of looking up, right? Because you could see the stems and stuff. Go for it. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do is I am creating circles for the lily pads. We're just going general shape. Man, we're a full house today. I think everyone has showed up today. Welcome, everybody. Okay, so the first one I'm gonna do is this big one in the top right hand corner. So it stops a little bit from the top and then like a third up. Right? So there's like maybe a little bit at the top that it's almost hitting. We can see that. It's like almost hitting the top, but there's a little bit of space. And then if you like kind of draw a line over here, this is like the bottom third, right? So it's touching up against the bottom third. Doesn't matter because we're changing the proportions. So it doesn't matter like the what, but like get kind of an oval-ish shape. Are my lines dark enough? Can we see?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the first pad that I'm doing. Actually, I'm going to change this a bit because I don't like the shape of it.
Are you putting that oval shape where you have that third notch? Or
Yeah.
other?
No, I'm lining it up into it.
To it. Oh, good arch.
It's not going to be exactly the same because I'm changing up the proportions, right? So I'm kind of just, you can put it, you can do whatever you want, but if you're following along me, this is how we're going to do it. You know what? It's too small for my liking. You are right, Emily. Now that I'm looking at it as a whole, it's too small.
Yeah, bigger. Yeah. Yeah, a little wider. What are you doing? Do more? Yes, because it's dipping in there. It's like a V.
That's nice.
Are you gonna?
Are you noticing how when I sketch, I'm rough and I'm going over the same thing over and over again until I get like a very organic line? That's okay to do. It doesn't have to be this perfectly one really thin line. We're not doing tattoos, we're doing paintings, okay?
Oh, okay. And you're taking off the other one.
Yes, that's not needed. All right. So from there, I'm going to do the top left one. So I'm noticing that it's a little bit overlapping, just a smidge overlapping. And I'm looking at the negative space, right? So I'm looking at the shape. I don't have a thing. Here we go. I'm looking at this shape, right? So I'm using the negative space to define my live space. Does that make sense? I'm looking at the space in between and comparing them. So if you're ever like, this isn't looking right, look at these shapes created outside of the shape of the line you're trying to draw, right? Like if you can't, what I mean by that is if you can't get this shape, like the leaf to do this shape, and you're like, what's going on here? Look at this shape that it creates inside. Like start looking at like this as a shape instead of looking at this as a shape.
It looks like a foot.
Right, exactly. So we're using the negative space to define the positive space with this. It's another way of looking at it. It's like, do you ever like look at yourself in the mirror and then you look at yourself from like a video camera and it's totally flipped and you're like, whoa, that's wild kind of thing. We're doing that with our brains. We're trying to break our brains out of the typical way of thinking and seeing things for more like shapes. This is how an artist think. This is how I as an artist think. I don't know how other people think. Okay, so judging off of that shape in that top right corner, I'm kind of going right here. And then it comes in about to right there. And then from there, I'm just creating that shape. I'm going to add, I'm dropping underneath that one and I'm adding the one right under it. But again, when I'm drawing my circles, I'm looking at this shape, right? I'm looking at the distance between these two, the distance between these two, and then to see if I can get this triangular shape throughout the whole thing. Does that make sense?
That corner and
For now, I am, because I have to try and like, since I have nothing there, I'm gonna build what I have and then from there create something else if I want to. Does that make sense? So I'm building what I have because we're going to have to like freehand this part that is not on that painting specifically. Okay, so I'm looking at that shape. I'm noticing that right here, that space is a lot smaller than the space in between from the top to the bottom. Right now, I'm voicing my thought process. So this is how I'm thinking right now. I'm noticing that this one's a lot more round than like this one is.
You're doing it more to the side, right? Yeah.
Like over here?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I have to like create that because it's not on there. So I'm building what's on there first, and then I'm going to add or change it up once I have what's already on there. Does that make sense?
Because the one on the right is bigger. Like it takes up to.
I don't like that it's right underneath it. I think I want to make this, if I were to choose between which one I want to make bigger, I think I want to make this one bigger. Just because that's a little more pleasing to my eyes. So if I brought it in and made it really big, then I think I like that better. I'm kind of working half off reference, half off of my own design kind of thing. So, which is how a lot of artists work, FYI. Okay, then I'm gonna go to the one underneath in this bottom corner. Again, it's touching a little bit. There's like a little space right here, like a little triangle to the side. And then it comes out like this. This is weird and pointed. So this is a weird shape, but that's okay. We like weird shapes here.
Absolutely. I didn't have to find out.
All right, then there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so this is where I'm going to change the layout because I don't like 2 right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 2 right here and see how that goes. I'm going to do I think I'm going to do 1 big one here. Actually, I'm gonna do it off the page. So right now, this is where I'm starting to create my own drawing. And so this is where my previous knowledge of composition comes into play, right? Because I have a lot of years of experience creating my own composition, knowing what looks good, what doesn't. So now that I'm no longer using this guy, I'm kind of relying on my own knowledge. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 circles right now.
6.
The picture has 6. For me, personally, I like odd numbers when I'm painting. I'm going to choose to keep this at 5 because for me, when I'm looking at objects within a painting, I always appreciate I always appreciate the opposite of symmetry. Yes, odd numbers and the opposite of symmetry. I can't think of it. Asymmetry. Yes, I really appreciate asymmetry. Yes, thank you. So that being said, I've got all the lily pads that I want. Now what we're gonna do is we are going to create that really organic shape that the lily pads have, right? The like what looks, they're called variegations within. So like the way that the leaves split and whatnot. The first split that I'm looking at is in the top corner. So I'm looking at that shape that was a foot, someone mentioned. So I'm finding the center. I'm going to find the center of each of my lily pads because that's where the stem is going to naturally connect. And all of my splits within the leaf have to come from that area. That's how nature works. So I'm just marking down where the center of each of my leaves comes from. That's where the stem's going to meet. But it's also where the variegation goes. So from there, I'm looking at this shape of the blue, right?
Yeah.
So I can see that it kind of connects up here and then it comes down to like a triangle and there's like this little curved spot. So I'm looking at that line and I'm going to try and replicate that within my lily pad. Does that make sense? So it goes here. So I got there. And it doesn't have to look identical because lily pads like all lily pads are different, right? So if you're not getting that shape, just create a different shape. It's fine. The only person who will judge you is yourself. So then if I erase those lines that I do not need,
I don't have any.
that's what I end up with. Except this one comes out more in here, more like that. So then I can see right here that there's, if this is the center, I can see that there's a little bit of an opening there. I can see that there are like some holes within the lily pad, which I think are really pleasant to look at. It makes it very organic feeling. So now I'm going through and I'm adding those organic shapes. So I'm trying to make it less perfect now. Kind of like this weird lightning bolt shape. Guys, it doesn't have to be perfectly like mine, okay? So long as they're just organic and interesting, that's all that really matters. Add notches wherever you want. They shouldn't be perfectly straight lines because that's not how plant life works. Right? So if I clean up my lines so that you can see it properly, what that big one looks like up there, it looks like this really messy, unclean shape. Yes, so now we have another variegation right here. Okay, so this is out right there. So now I'm just kind of having fun with the shapes, messing them up, trying to make them less organic, or I'm sorry, less perfect and more organic shaped.
Just,
There's one right, yeah, there's one right here. Could you cut it in half for Terry?
Sure.
I know she's probably gonna want some.
Thank you. You need help?
Woo, what happened there? Once you have the shape and like the little variegated holes within your plants, you can if you want to, you don't have to. Then we're gonna start doing the stems. And the stems are not very hard. All you're gonna do is from that center place, where does this go down? So this one, I like the way that this one is shaped, so I'm trying to replicate it. So it goes down. Oh. I like how it's kind of like stepped. And I'm just doing one single line for the stem, more just like a placeholder than anything. So that's my first stem. My second stem will come just like that. This stem will come out like that. I like that. This stem will come down. There we go. That's it. I'm done my drawing. So there's nothing over here. I like making all of my corners looking different, so. Does anyone want me to go around, walk around and look?
Yes. Yes.
Sounds good.
So hullabaloo. You tell.
I like it.
After, yeah.
I really like it, yeah. I think you did a very nice job.
I'm gonna.
The only place that's a little weird, we have that place right here, so I'm just gonna make this bigger.
Thank you.
Because I did that because of the fact that if you put an edge here,
Right.
like if you create like a line, like say this is two buildings, right? If you do a line right here,
Right.
then your eye will follow up that building.
Exactly.
But if you have 2 points right here, then your line, your eye, it breaks.
Right.
There's a very specific name for it, but I can't remember the name.
Should I leave the stem the way it is?
Leave the stem the way it is, yes.
You're not gonna make this.
Nice, okay, so you have to go off. What is this line right here?
I don't know, it's just,
So where does the
This-
stem, what's the stem for?
this is the long, no, it's not a long, you don't have that. So where does this stem gonna go?
So this one will go down, right?
Okay, you have it on this way. If you turn around, you'll see it's there.
So this one goes off like this. Right?
What do I do about this one? Bring it up here again.
No, this one goes down. Because this is its own stem, right?
What?
You're not gonna connect stem to stem.
Oh, you,
Does
right.
that make sense?
Yes.
What I'm doing.
Okay, so this is a stem here.
But these are, you're not gonna, these are gonna be two separate stems, right? The stem doesn't connect stem.
In other words, like this.
So this one has to go off, so you can like kinda, if you wanted to.
Well,
Like,
that's
kind
right.
of do this, this is so empty. And then this one, yeah, that's it.
And what about this line?
That needs to be erased.
Right? Thank you.
You're very welcome. And then for this one. Very clean, very nice, I like it. I like it. Yeah, I really do. Are you gonna be doing it like this where it looks like the underside? Okay, are you gonna be just freehand your stems in? Or like, so we have these lines for the stems, are you gonna freehand that? Or do you wanna draw that?
Draw it.
Okay, okay,
Draw it.
okay.
Yeah.
Very nice. You guys have some good, oh, I'm so sorry. You guys have good drawing skills. I will point out, and this is up to you, if it's really dark, so when you paint over it, you will be able to see the pencil lines. If you like that look, keep it. If you don't, I would say.
Yeah, I was gonna.
You're gonna erase it?
little bit.
Okay, so I would erase it to the point where it's like that, like look out 80%, if you really don't want to see the line. I kind of like being able to see my sketches underneath, I feel like it brings something only an artist can bring to an image. I like the way you did it, right?
That's what I'm doing.
My only thing. Is that.
This was the wording here.
So what I would do would be, you don't need much, I would say bring this one.
And you know what? This was our paper.
And I think that would probably create that like more. What do you think? Yeah, but like, I don't, learning about composition is like, learning not to fill up all of this. Yeah, we're trying to avoid like very specifically, because that's a very natural human instinct is to like create organization and like relationships to one another. Whereas nature just like ebbs and flows and it's like, fuck your organization. Thank you. No problem. Sorry if you hate swearing. Nice. 6 good. Okay. Emily, always beautiful, always perfect. I see you're getting lost with the stuff. What's going on?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So the stem-
Are you erasing it or?
There has you painted a bit different.
Right here.
Yeah, you're not erasing it in the background, no.
But see how mine goes a
I
little
mean,
bit farther.
lightening the line.
Either shorten it or lengthen it. That's it. I really like it. I really like this.
Yeah, our too is not.
Oh, beautiful. Well, I mentioned that. Again,
Not
right
working.
here.
What's the matter?
Like, this is what it's called. So I would bring
What's the
this
matter,
down.
lady?
And then I'm bring that out.
Again. The stems are dark green, no? I'm doing like
Because I took a shower, I didn't put any cream on.
I love this space, yes, yes.
Good flake in there.
Not the same composition.
You don't have a humidifier at home?
I have it on my furnace.
That's right.
Rendition of less more.
Oh.
Actually,
You.
What's my name? Say it again. I think it's still there. But they, actually changed our furnace.
I like this.
Well, hold on, I wanted to get my papers.
Oh,
This one a little more.
I'm
I'm
maybe
trying to put
mixing
this one.
colors today. I'm making my own.
Okay.
Where that paper that I have is colors.
Oh.
Oh, I did.
I totally.
Help you. Okay.
Yes.
So instead of this, let's bring this out. So, yeah.
Sandy, where did you get those pens? I love them.
You do?
No.
My husband hates them. I got these pens during COVID because I had an accident in my car, I didn't have a car, I totaled it. And when I went out, the streets, I wanted to be visible. You know, when I got a snow. I got it, I don't remember. I went to carry one.
Oh, it's in the city.
Yeah. And,
Where to Gary Square?
yeah.
There's a Winters in the Gary Square.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I got it in the store, and they closed down already, it was called Urban something. and-
Urban Planet.
Yeah, probably, and they sold everything, so I got this, I got another pair with all colors. My husband hates it, but I figured it's so great when you paint.
They're beautiful.
No, not him. And I don't have the kids because my daughter's having a son, because my husband's birthday tomorrow. So I have to change. I have to say, you gotta change.
What are you doing tonight? Is the party, birthday's tomorrow?
My birthday's tomorrow. It's tonight. We're going after I work.
Oh, you're going out? You're going out for supper?
Yeah.
Where are you
At my
going?
daughter's house, Dollard.
Oh, your daughter's house in Dollar. I have a son in Dollar. One in Severa, one in Dollar. My other one, we have a problem, he's in St. Bernard. Because the second bridge. Yes. As you know, that you don't plan on going to the carry.
I know, the overpass, yeah.
Well, you could see as you're driving into town. We were in town yesterday. I have to go into town tomorrow. It'll be okay. I have a 6 o'clock doctor tomorrow. I had it.
So tell me, you would wear
As
something
you're
like
driving,
this?
you know what I'm saying?
You would wear it?
Absolutely.
I gotta tell my husband, he can't believe this. He hates them, he calls them clown. I did that as a visual when I lived in the winter.
Didn't have a jacket?
Buses. Huh?
Didn't have a jacket.
We're jogging, and they were very, very long on me. So, what I did, I cut it, it doesn't have the elastic.
Yeah, that doesn't matter. Nice for like this.
I cut it off.
Nice for like this.
It's the job, huh?
I don't wanna do
My father and mother.
Yeah, I showed, I
I
think
had
these
a
I
video
showed.
of this, if I didn't pay, my husband laughed, he didn't laugh.
Yeah, ladies, you're very wrong. We start to pay.
I don't know what to do. We could, can we start to paint?
Why not? She said she would start erasing a little bit.
Erasing if you want. I'm not. Because I don't.
Terry and Matthew are painting.
Oh, they've been already. They've been at the moment they entered here. Started. All right, let's go. Can I start? Whatever, I'm gonna make my own color.
That's my watch.
It's 2:12. We finish at 3:30.
Finish at 3:30.
Yeah, we have an hour.
Okay. Okay, so what am I gonna do?
Oh, I don't have paper things. You know how to get rid of it?
This call, what kind of phone is that?
I'm having religious. I know, it's a girl. Yeah. As I'm putting it up, I don't know how to get up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's too dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, during COVID, it felt like that. Your mom got it?
Oh, there's a clear all, but I didn't want to clear. I have it open in case I think you went to Costco. You want me to go with it?
Why?
I think I have those left by.
But you have two cards. Two separate bills, yes. How come?
Yeah.
Your basket? Yeah, because he needed a basket. Was that one bill?
Oh, two basket.
Yeah, for one bill.
You pay it separate.
I had a, by rebate. He had a rebate. His lunch would also have a lunch.
Oh, no.
I said, no.
Yeah.
I need yogurt. Margarine. I said, they get a thing of two fish.
Well, yeah.
Don't buy the Santo, buy the fur. And that's how, the last time you were there, he brought. All kind of pierogies and whatnot, big bag. He likes that. But it doesn't know what to be.
My mother used to make it with small.
No, that's it, yeah.
It's arugula, so we make them.
Well, you know what? This morning I made my dough for habitat last day. And I'm gonna do it tonight or tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I stuff it with some cream cheese. I have cream cheese, I put mint flavor in it. Tipped it in green, then I drizzle chocolate. They change it up. They're expecting or whatever. Like the same thing. My granddaughter does always just like you guys are.
I know everything.
There's only one thing I want. What's that? The one that's doing it, she's 34.
God bless her.
All right, we all have absolutely beautiful lily pads. Thank you.
Does it matter which leaf we start with?
It does not. If you want to erase and you don't want to see, if your images are really, if your lines are really dark and you don't want to see them through your painting at the end, erase them about 80%. I myself leave mine because I think for me personally, it adds, when I look at other people's artwork and I can see their sketches, I'm immediately interested because it helps me understand their thought process and how they built their painting. And B, it adds an area of interest that only an artist can add, right? So that's your own personal preference. And if you're not sure, erase one, go dark the other, and then compare. Which one do you like better, right? Art is a safe space to explore. Okay, so the first thing that we are going to do is, what's nice is I'm building off of a very really rough pixelated image. This is very undetailed. It's like really fuzzy. So it almost helps me be able to like see the roughness of it. The first thing that I'm going to do is lightly color I'm gonna do a light yellow-green wash over all the lily pads. We are going to create that light yellow-green. That's the first thing we're gonna do.
You don't have to wet anything?
No, I'm not working really wet on wet right now. No. So the first thing I'm gonna do is take my big brush. And I already have a green here that I'm working with. So, just a little announcement. Watercolor paints, you guys are working with high quality, very professional paints. So instead, and like there's a very limited fund of like the supplies here. So instead of like using the same colors every single time, which I do try to do, but I had some Hooker's green hanging around in my personal stash that I never used. So for those of you who have a green refill, it's not the exact same green. It's a little, you have a little bit of sap green mixed with Hooker's green in there. So just be aware of that.
Mixing it with green, yellow with the green,
Yes,
yellow or the.
we're putting the yellow with the green. Yes, we want to make a nice yellowish green color. So I'm taking that sap, I'm taking basically what's in my palette right now is a Hooker's green. So I'm taking that color and then I'm adding some cadmium yellow to it. And then I'm going to add a little bit of the yellow ochre, which is the mustard yellow, just to bring it more of an earth tone down. And that's it. I'm happy with this color. Yep, I've added in both yellows. The cadmium yellow really like brought it and limed it up. And then everyone has cadmium yellow. Yes. You have two, you should have two types of yellow in there. Let me see.
Julie, we're doing the whole flower this green?
Yes, correct.
I have this one here. This is also yellow. That's yellow. It looks like brown.
Oh, this is nice. Oh, I like this. I like this so much.
This is really.
We're going to paint, we're doing a light wash over the entire leaf.
Are we putting alter also?
Yes, yes. If it looks too lime, like highlighter yellow, add some yellow ochre and it'll help bring it into more of the earth tone colors. So now I'm taking that with my big brush. If you want to, you can use a small brush if you want to. Don't paint the holes because those have to stay blue, right? So I'm letting it in, I'm bringing it in, and I have too much paint here. This is too much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean my brush, damp it off, like just blot it off, and then pull that color around throughout it. And as we spread that color around, it will lighten up that color. Correct. You can choose to get rid of some of them if you want to. You don't need all of them. Ooh, Nat, this would be a really interesting exercise to get messy. Only paint with this brush.
Big brush.
Yeah,
That brush.
only paint with this brush.
With a little tiny brush.
Yeah, but if you want to try and get a little messier and looser, stick with a big brush and try to do all your small details that way. It might help you break out of like that hyper realistic perfectionism that you need.
That's too much. No.
Well, for next time, you know?
Yeah.
Because I'm doing it right now and I'm realizing that I'm not able to stick within the lines and stuff, but I kind of love it.
And you know, something about my colors are gone.
Yes, they are.
Correct. I'm purposefully handicapping myself today because I feel like it. Because, you know, after doing something for the same thing over and over and over again for the last 25 years, sometimes I want to challenge myself a little bit more. So I'm only painting with this brush today.
Those of us who have no skills are gonna use the smaller one.
Hey, yeah, you do you. You guys are just on a little bit of my artist journey as well.
You're experimenting with us.
Yeah, think of yourselves as guinea pigs. So we're not doing a wet. We've done already a lot of wet on wet, right? Wet on wet is the technique where you wet your paper first and then you float on your color afterwards and it spreads. We've all done a lot of that. The first half of this class has been a lot of that. What I am doing now is showing you more of a dry brush or wet on dry technique that we are going to kind of practice a lot because that's outside of my wheelhouse. I don't really paint dry brush or wet on dry. I used to do a lot of wet on wet. So now I want to get you guys comfortable with a different technique, if you will. So the majority of my painting is already dry because we did a very light wash, which is nice. There's a really huge benefit to that when you're on a time limit class, right?
I'm kind of dark, it's not that light.
That's okay.
Not a light wall.
If it's not a light wash and you want to make it lighter, you can always I know you know how, Emily.
Okay.
Yes.
I really love what's happening right here.
Yes, we did a race. That's okay. This so interesting. The way that this water has kind of like created its own little life of itself. And you know why that happened? Is because we're doing this dry brush, so you're putting on layers. So this dried first, this dried second, which means that it created this interesting hard line there.
Literally do here.
Okay. Touch it. Yeah, I love it. Beautiful. I'm sorry. Have you, are you, right? Watercolor?
Yeah, I started learning how to do it in the after thing.
Yeah. FYI, everybody, if you guys are in my classes, you can start calling yourselves artists. Art is an act. It isn't something you become. All right, so now that for those of you who are ready, what we can do is we can just, in that same manner where we pick up wet, watery color and add it to the paint, the dry area, we're going to pick up our cerulean blue, so that like baby sky blue. We're gonna pick up some of it. If you guys are less confident with picking up like a smaller amount of color, what you can do is you can take some of that color and put it in its own place, and that way you're not going directly from the color source itself, but you're going from here. And if you go here, you have a lot more control over how dark of a color you pick up. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. Because you have a little bit of green probably mixed in your brush still. When you're cleaning out your brushes, bang your brushes lightly on the bottom of your cup, because you're going to have to push the bristles out to get to the center. Otherwise, if you're just dipping it in and like brushing it up, the paint's gonna stay in the center of your brush. So if you're going to clean your brushes really thoroughly, you want to lightly blot them on the bottom of the cup of water. So with a wet brush, I'm gonna pick up that cerulean blue that I'm grabbing from my third-party source, right? It's not directly from my color. It's from an alternate source, so that I can control how light of an amount of color I drop. And then I can, oops, I think I hit it. And then I can keep on like blotting down some of my color. Yep, everywhere you want some of that color to go.
I'm still doing mine too.
And go ahead. Yeah, there's no time limit here. It's just that some of us are ahead of others. So I'm only making sure that we're doing things that are fairly easy to accomplish. I'm gonna have to pick up more of that color. Ooh, it's very dark. All right, I forgot music. You know what? I'm going to be adding a little more color into my blue.
It's just, I took this blue.
Yeah, you just had a little bit of green that looks like still in your brush, but it's
What-
still a very nice blue.
What blue I have to put some green in there?
No, you can use that same blue if you want. This blue, cerulean.
Okay, this is the one I took.
It just looks like you had a little bit of green in your brush, is what I'm saying.
Oh, but I don't like this color.
Okay, then go over it. Wet your brush quite a bit. It'll help spread out the color.
Yeah. Actually, it's nice, it's mixing.
Nice.
That is,
Hello, Babs. Very nice.
You know what I have it on?
What's that?
A small portable hair dryer. Which I would years ago. It's not the first time I did watercolor. We used to use it to dry.
Yeah, your washes.
Yeah, yeah.
That works. The only problem with that is because you're adding heat to your paper, and these are made with like cotton fibers. You are now going to stain, so it's gonna be a lot harder to lift up, right?
Okay.
Because when you want to set a stain, you heat it, you put it in boiling water.
Okay.
Think about when you're dyeing fabrics, right? You're dyeing it in hot water. Terry, the texture here is gorgeous. I really like the red you added in here.
Because of what I see here,
I love it, yeah.
you know, like that's what I do kind of. Orange here.
Yeah, the lily pads are very nice.
Yeah.
What do you think of how dark the water is? Do you like it, or did you get too dark?
I don't know.
Let's see when it's all in. It's supposed to be darker, right?
No, see, it had a bit of dark there and a bit of whiter there.
Yes, I really like what's happening up here,
Yeah.
and I really like how it fades here.
Yeah.
I would encourage you to add a little more like variety to your paper. So either go darker in certain areas or lift other areas. I think that would add like a lot of impact. Although I love these lines because it helps, it looks like the water is flowing and bumping up against. You're an acrylic painter, right?
Huh?
You're an acrylic painter, right?
He's also been oil, not enough really.
Okay, so the mediums you're used to don't have a mind of their own.
No.
The thing with watercolor is it has a mind of its own.
I ran up.
Nice. Yeah, I like what you're doing with the water. Yep. You're right. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, yeah, that's too dark.
Beautiful, Amelia. What's happening down there? It's beautiful. Love it. Just let it move around. Let it, you let it. Don't be afraid of the water, okay? Nice. How do you feel about it? Do you like it?
Light, isn't there good light?
Do you want?
See my lily pad, I feel light.
For your own liking?
Yes. No.
Yeah. Want it to dark?
I like that.
Don't let me put words in your mouth, right? I want you to tell me.
No, this, I want to make a little bit more light.
I wanna make it lighter, okay.
This thing.
You're not doing anything for me, right? You're doing anything for you, so I wanna know what you want.
This one, this is the thing.
You can do what you
Oh,
want.
it's your taste.
My taste is very green.
See, even here,
That's my colors,
Here
kind
we
of
go. I
blend.
didn't change it even here. The colors, nobody shows.
If then it does it by itself.
I don't.
Kind of gets it there.
It's screwed up, right?
Well, I know dark it is. Why, you think it's too dark?
Yeah, I think it's
Okay. I like more darkness. I really do. I think you just need to add a little bit of variety to your colors. So I think it's just what I would change.
Did she say to go ahead?
Is all solid color, right? I would add a variety where it is water, it is fresh, really wet, and just lift up certain areas so that you can create what looks like the sun kind of being into the water. And see how that just adds a little bit of variety and softness to it. What do you think? Do you like that better? Yeah. Okay. So we're just, all you do, right, is you dip your paint in water. Just brush off all the excess, and then I get with the.
Time is all like. Here's the icon.
The one more hour. I'll do another thing.
I said pretty quick. Yeah. Yes.
How do you feel, Leah?
I like it.
Yeah,
I do too. You want me to do something else? No, it's good.
It's your painting. What I want to know is, do you like how texture you want?
Yeah. Why, you don't like it?
Me? No, I love it. I love everyone's painting.
I have to put more green in
Extreme.
mine.
What do you mean like that? So see how
I have to find.
there's
Yeah,
a lot of shadows.
Now that I.
Perfect, amazing. We have a ton of, it looks like it's really brushed water.
Are you sure?
Yes,
Oh.
absolutely. It's
Now
because
that
we
they're
do photos,
dry,
you're going to
nice and
clean still water.
No, I was trying to make it neat.
There you go. Got it.
All right.
That's a huge, part of painting too. There's actually,
Yeah, the light.
capturing movement in a painting,
Yes,
yes, the
yeah,
skill
the
set
light.
in and of itself. You gotta do it.
Water's green. Go on the lighter one. Yeah, I use that one too, but try to use the other one, that's clear. Yeah.
I have some beautiful colors and it's all dried out.
Of course, when they watercolor changes.
Now, because your greens and your blues are like the same value, see how they're like kind of the same color, they blend in with each other a little bit? You
You wet it
add your depth
You wet it first.
and.
No, you don't want it first. No, you just got a long wall. Like, as I said,
Yeah, yes, so when you get started adding leaves.
No, we did the light green, the leaves over ahead, if we did the dark green on your. This is dark green, this was the brown.
Or with the dark yellow and the green.
So
and the
it's,
brown.
And do it very light.
Mixing value in and of itself, which, in order to make.
He will.
Really kind of soft white, they
That
are gonna have to
green
add
and
more
the bit of brown in it.
Right?
Like it's dark, a little scary.
Yes. But it makes that.
My water is overlapping my. My water is
I love it, that you're
overlapping my.
experiment. I love it, yes. You've never been afraid to experiment, and I really appreciate that. You're not. What I can have you, because we've only added one layer on the onions. You have to add one layer. This is just the base layer, okay?
Yeah, I mean, I put a lot of water.
Thanks, Bill.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I
so
put a
you
lot
have
of
a
water.
very similar thing happening
You're
that
gonna
in
change it,
Canada,
interesting, and
where your values with your greens and your blues are like very similar.
Like, oh, this is not true to do
So I would have
very light to be like,
What's
what's
you
wrong with
want
that?
them
And
to
then
say?
it's dark.
Or,
Yeah.
It's a red jar, it's gonna be super dark.
I don't know, I just did, she did.
Yeah, but I.
That's what I did.
Also.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah. With my brushes.
Finish my copy.
So. What it looks like to me is that, you know, areas of dark still brown. Got a little bit of.
Yeah.
green,
Like, that's
there's
interesting.
something-
Well, and it's pretty dark in there. There's some light.
You do have.
Why is she dark already?
So.
That's lovely.
Oh, yeah. It's really. Watercolor has a line of its own. Yes, and you have to appreciate. You have to learn surrender to the chaos that is coming up. I'm gonna do that. That's why I am challenging myself. But, yeah, so, instead of judging what you deem as mistakes, because the water did its way to certain things, try to look at it from a different point of view and start to appreciate those parts. You know, change your relationship with it. Yeah, you are. Nice.
Oh, I like those.
Ooh, beautiful. Yeah, with what, darling? It looks amazing. I love it.
Well, what do we do with? One of dark green.
Don't worry about that. That's the very last step. How do you feel about it? To me, this looks right now like, it looks like those scenes in like Moon Planet where you like look underneath. The documentary series, right? Where like in British Columbia, there's the big kelp forests, you have the same coloring. I love it. I love it. Yes. Very nice. What don't you like about it? What I can see you have. Yeah. Okay. So I see. Okay. What I think is that right now, this.
I'm having it.
Does that make sense? Yeah, I see once. I think that's what we're gonna do. Just add a little bit, add a little wash.
April 15th.
And I think I really like this, this has like this, that like the sun is like penetrating right into. Yeah, nice, nice guys. Guys, I'm like super impressed with all of you today.
Ain't answering it.
Nice, nice, nice. What do you think of it?
Yeah, like,
Do you?
can I continue with blue or whatever color you had started with blue? Oh, that was the water.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not my phone, is it? Yeah, it is.
It is. Can I ask you to silence it?
Yeah, definitely will. It's okay.
Do you have an apple? Is that an
Yeah, yeah,
apple?
no, it's
It
okay.
should
It's
have
okay.
like just a silent button. Okay, so what we're gonna do now, all right, we're gonna start adding a little bit of texture into our lily pads because they're very flat right now, right? They're very flat. So let's add some texture to it, if you will. Let's see. I'm going to mix 3 colors that we're going to kind of add at not random, but with rhyme and reason kind of thing. So we're going to mix 3 colors. Okay. So the first color that we are going to mix is going to be our shadow color. I'm going to mix my green with, I'm gonna mix my green with ultramarine blue. Correct. Yes, the darker blue. You might need to add a little bit of brown to it, but see how I have this really nice hunter's green right now?
Okay, so we're doing green and blue.
Green and dark blue. And add more green.
Oh, makes it a nice dark color.
Yes,
Yes.
right. So on everyone on their palettes has 2 blues, 2 yellows, 2 reds, 1 green. So if you're unsure of and then a brown, yes, there's a brown up the side.
We could put brown too.
You can put brown too if you want to bring it more into a neutral color. The next one that I'm going to mix is I'm going to add a lot more yellow to the first paint color that we had. And I'm going to add, yes, the first green color we had, I'm going to add a lot more yellow ochre, which is the mustard yellow.
Yeah.
Because I want to bring that into more of like an olive yellow, if you will, color. I went 2 yellow, so now I'm adding more green to balance it out. Okay, that I'm happy with right there. Okay, so the third yellow that the third color I'm going to add is a reddish brown. Okay, so I have my red right here, which is cadmium red. I'm going to take my brown, which is my burnt umber, and I'm going to mix those two together until I get like a copper brown color.
Excuse me, could you say that again, please?
Yes, I'm gonna look for, I want like a coppery brown color. So what I'm gonna do is take my burnt umber, which is the brown that I have, and I'm going to mix it with a cadmium red.
Oh.
Orange.
It's like a orangey. If it's not dark enough, you can always add a little bit of blue, but add blue very sparingly, Iris. Very, very sparingly, if you're gonna add blue. If it's too vibrant for your liking, you really want to tone it down, add a little bit of blue, of the ultramarine blue, the dark blue, but just a hint at a time, because blue loves to overpower all the other colors in your palette. So add it, little baby, little baby, little baby.
It tones it down a little bit.
A little bit. It will bring it from a very vibrant color to a more neutralized color. Yes. Okay, so now I have 3 colors. I have this dark green color.
Yeah.
I have this yellowish green color, and then I have this neutral color. Give me a second. I have to plug in my phone.
Yeah, mine still looks like that. Not fine.
Okay, cool. Just. Ooh, hold on, give me a second. Ooh, there we go. Okay. Yeah. Oh, where did my reference photo go? Okay. Okay.
So now what we're going to do is we are gonna do a wet on dry technique, where we're going to kind of pool the areas of color together and allow them to kind of run into one another. All right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just I want to put this here so you can see how I treat my water. So I'm kind of just like dipping the tip of my water in and dabbing it off. I'm going to pick up that light color and I'm noticing where it is on my reference picture where it's light, right? So then I'm going to add it in and I'm noticing that I need more yellow in that color, but that's okay. And I'm just kind of roughly putting it on. And while it's still damp, I'm going to pick up my darker color and kind of add that in where it wants to go. And then pick up the third color if it needs it, and then kind of like add it in. And see how they all kind of run together, but because my paints are not soaked, they're kind of like only spreading so far. Does that make sense? Okay, so like this is a really like trial and error, just play with it. Okay.
Oh,
I need more yellow within mine, so I'm just taking some cadmium. I'm just taking my yellow ochre and adding it on. So what I'm doing is ever so slightly, I am just kind of adding a little bit of a layer after layer of color. I am building up, I'm not allowing my layers to dry in between. I'm kind of just allowing them to flow together and just dropping color where I believe that it needs to go. Don't overthink this process. Intuitively work with your colors. I have to plug in another color, or all my devices are dying right now. All right, there you go. Where is the color? See how this yellow is flowing into this dark color, is flowing into the red? That's because I am not using a lot of water, but I'm adding my colors together while they're still wet, but it's not soaked. We are working with damp we're working from a scale of damp to a little bit more wet. But if you notice your paper, like that area is starting to have water tension, you know, when like it starts creating a bubble on top and having height, you have too much water there, you have to soak it up.
Soak it.
Yep.
Oh, I have a lot. Soak it up. Soak it up. Soak it up.
There we go. Okay. Devices are plugged in. We're good. Also, if you want, this is a little too dark for my liking, so I'm just gonna go in and like pick some of it up. You know, play around with it. Because I promise you, these are water lilies. No matter what kind of texture you add to it, it's going to end up looking like water lilies. I don't believe you. What'd you say?
That's because.
Iris, what were you saying?
It's gonna look like water lilies because our drawing was so good.
There you go. That's a good point. Everyone has a solid drawing, so they're gonna look like water lilies. So I'm kind of doing like a very light, almost wet on wet kind of, but not quite, right? So I'm kind of allowing there to be wetness and dampness in certain areas and allowing others to dry. This is a really organic way of adding color.
What about in between breakage? Like, I haven't filled them up, like, when I meant these things.
What about?
Did I have to put blue or?
No, just keep it going. Let it use.
Yeah, but-
This is too much red.
What do I do with these openings afterwards?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, I didn't know,
Yeah.
okay.
You are working, you need more of like a pure green color, so I'm going. Okay, watch what happens on that. I see how adding a wash to that kind of adds more light. Maybe you think you
Oh,
like it
yes,
better or
yes,
not?
yes. And those holes have to be a very light blue type of
Correct.
thing?
Yep.
Thank you. I don't have to do that. It's like, and that's for all of them?
Yep.
These don't look like water lilies. Mine don't look like no water lilies.
Why don't they, does it look too, I'm going to come over and look at yours, Marlene. I'm coming. See how like it's kind of flowing, but not really? Like I'm really playing with add color when your paper's dry, add color when it's wet, lift it up. I want you guys to play right now, okay? The more you play with it, hey, you know what? It's because you have separated things into wheels, correct? Yes. Whereas, like, do you see any hard lines? No? Okay, so what we have to do is we have to soften all the lines, right? And go, now we're gonna go a little bit. So we soften them, right? Yep, just water. So now, while it's wet. So now it's wet. You want to add beautiful greens too.
More I play the less it's good. The more I play the less it's good.
No, I deleted mine up because this one here was.
So these are just not right.
Yes, and like obscure those hard lines.
Yeah, my book.
I was using my book.
But in my front, from the section that I want to do.
Yeah, this is gorgeous.
It is?
Yes.
It's a nice book to do.
Yep, just keep on adding layer after layer after layer after layer. Don't be afraid to, yeah, you're pretty, the holds, the colors are really bringing that, that
We're on the
contrast.
sky, we're on the sky. Like,
I would say, instead of always picking up with, now we'll try. You know, the brush. You gotta be more control over how much. A paper towel is all or nothing, whereas a brush, you can like really control how much. Nice little. Love it, don't be afraid to go dark, but I love it. You have a very strong grasp. You are gonna need probably another layer, if not less, a fourth. You want a demonstration? Makes it done. I really like what that's doing. Okay, so, instead of trying to mess it all up, see, you were doing a really nice job here. So to mess it all up,
Oh, I have to do the other ones. I stopped with our sweet.
This works really nicely as well. I'm like, don't even be afraid to mix it darker.
And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna have.
You're working your hair.
Patience for this.
Don't have to dry it.
But-
You don't say.
No, I don't.
I'm sorry.
No. I kind of lost my girl.
The seeds look 100%. Because we're going
So dark now.
We're just gonna go paint over.
Like, if you choose that.
That's because it's a very organic way of going. Nice little. I think the dark brown is a little too much.
Too much right there.
Yeah. So what I would do is just water.
Yeah. John, how people like this?
I'm painting, but I don't like.
Especially shoes.
Okay, so. This is a very organic way of painting,
comes off.
so I understand why you're struggling. Yes. Okay. First of all, we have to do different colors. This is, muted. So we're looking for muted colors. Right? So I feel much nicer, right? You know that one? You also need a dark, which I'm going to
See what Sandra's doing.
pull up.
Not so good.
Liar, Cassandra.
How are you?
We're all in that awkward teenage phase of
How are
our
you doing?
paintings. No one wants to be there, no one likes it.
So, yeah,
You also, so I reference.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Are you gonna be coming like my husband? He says, you can't stay those clown pants. Stop it, stop it, I wear this. No, it's for painting.
For birthday, you go party, you don't wear it for painting.
You don't mind?
No. How you doing? I'm doing so sorry. Did you tell her that we're gonna be back your second week in April?
I said in April, I didn't tell her. I was in the factory yesterday from 7 o'clock to 3:30.
Get out.
Yeah, it's news on 8:11,
So then I'm
you
gonna
know,
take
I
this
called
color.
811 for a nurse.
Oh,
I was in terrible pain. So she told me, don't go to the hospital overnight and that's your emergency.
Not sure.
Go home in the morning and I said, I thought I was in the syringe.
That's right.
They were at 129 and it was 34.
God bless.
I went here.
Where'd you go for?
Every
No,
time
I
you
was in agony. I couldn't get out
What I
of
see
bed.
every time you go like down exhibit,
My legs
is
were
that
like this.
your leaf is doing
I
like
was
this.
thinking,
So that
I
every
don't
color
know.
can be a little.
This is a demon.
What's that?
It's a demon.
Okay, where'd you go?
It could
So
go-
we're
it
looking
could
for
have
this
gone to the
water,
heart
it's
or
like
to my
really.
lungs. So I want that to happen. And we did tests. Don't go, only in my.
And to January, it's raised
Did you see a doctor? I'm not talking about the emergency room doctor. Did they send you to the specialist?
No,
But
I went to the yard doctor.
there
It was
is.
very.
Who took care of you?
You know why? Cause you've
Gut.
Oh, Dr. Gutman.
He had such good bedside manner. He was joking with me.
I told you.
I was trying to just by.
We
He went-
this.
Very nice.
But remember
We
that.
worked here for 21 years in
Yeah.
emergency.
My cousin also worked there. She was a nurse
Yeah, I really like that.
and she remembered him.
Those hard
She's
green
in
lines,
Florida
though,
now,
I
so she
would, I
can't
would,
see why I didn't answer.
What was her name?
Marlene.
Yeah,
the bus.
like soften them.
Marlene?
Don't
The
say
bus,
it.
LA.
See how that kind of gives-
Somebody that-
She's young.
You know, does it look like a Monet style?
Sure, when I went in for my back after I fell,
It looks like a mess.
the doctor that took care of me were doctors I worked with at the hospital.
No, he was fantastic.
Yeah, he's an old timer there.
I like your juice. But, okay, so if you want it more time, you just need to.
Yeah, but let's have your head here, not this here.
Like what level of drive I want, so at this point, I'm so, I don't know if this is the answer, but it's not.
Right.
It's, I don't like them at all, it's like, oh,
But I'm having.
so yeah, I don't like having to.
Yeah.
For yourself, talking how, yeah, a lot of water, so it's like, wow.
Oh, I bring my own bottles of water.
Wow.
And I brought to you water.
I know.
But you.
I know. No, absolutely.
Why don't you come with us? We go Wednesday. I stood here, near the arena.
Oh, yeah, I do my own exercise. Which one?
Oh, well, you know what I've been doing? I've been walking.
What are we supposed to do now?
Keep going.
You don't do God. The both of you.
I don't know what the heck I'm doing.
Mine isn't.
That's it, I made up my mind.
I'm doing what I wanna do.
Even me, the brown is almost finished.
Well, this
like
year,
that.
wasn't just, oh, we mix it in green.
I don't even know what I'm doing anymore.
I want to go and go to the thing on Tuesday with the brown.
How good is that?
You just plunge in. Too much water on here? Well, you put a lot of water in here. You don't show up.
You like it better? Okay, perfect. How you feeling about yours?
How's your neck? How's your neck? Is okay?
No, it's not.
Oh, well, that's
All
all
right.
campaign.
Yes, don't be afraid to like bump them into each other now that you have like separations going on. Okay. Wait, what's, is it almost 3:30?
Not 3:30. 3:11.
Where did the time go?
That's what I keep saying.
Where did the time go? We just started,
I
guys.
keep thinking I'm 29, but I'm not 29 anymore.
Okay, we can finish this, everyone's here, so if you wanna continue working on it next week, we can definitely continue working on it next week. Yes, okay, if you guys are also finished, okay, so. You can do the stems if you're happy with them, yes, absolutely, if you guys are happy.
not a black, you're gonna mix your black with a green to make it very, very, very dark color. If you want to.
Wanna do my thing? What?
Oh.
Why? I love
That's
this.
too much
Oh,
more.
thank
I think
you. You
that's,
did it, that's why.
yeah, but like, this has so much, you're just not working wet enough. Remember how they
Yes.
float into each other?
Can I finish I could do the stem like this and you said the stems, I could use, you said brown and,
You could even use this. They were really
thank
dark.
you.
What don't you like about it? It's very, very dry, so you have a lot of really hard edges. Do you see any hard edges up there?
Can I hold it? Yeah. and then you can
Right.
whatever.
So that's the thing.
Oh, I added it because, okay.
Yes, so what I would do, is I really like them, but
Yeah,
they're
and
too
blend it in.
defined. Blend it in,
But
yep,
I can do. Okay.
yep, blend it in. Ooh, yes.
They're after four. I know.
Oh, yes, good. I'm very impressed.
You know, when I get to dark. When you do it.
I love your technique, yeah.
When it's-
If you want more,
Put that red and
you don't have to put the red if you don't want to. What I would do is I would add more flour. I would add more blue. So this dark blue right here, what you can tell me if you don't like it, I can cut it out. But just going
Yeah, I was not having that.
dark. Yeah. Just areas to create a little bit of variety.
Yeah, I get to lift it up here.
Now that it's
Because
wet.
no, I'm gonna go like that. You know what to do. You like doing that. See, if it's a
So
little
just
bit
a few areas that are like a little too similar, because right now your water is like all one color.
Yeah.
Which isn't a bad thing, but also if you want variety to see it. I get a lot of shadow in certain areas, like this part, right? And then just take some variety. Yeah.
I don't, I never use too much water in here.
Need this, let me know. And then like.
I just wish they. I try to follow it too much. And you don't.
No, I don't.
No, I don't have the eye because.
See how that like, so I would add it maybe up here, but then leave this alone. And I think that's really going to help.
And see what's my dirty water is almost.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. So, you should have a green color. This is the dark soft color. So what should I do now? Wet water, and then-
No, I won't. What? I didn't know that very, you saw I didn't know that. No, I know, but still no. You have it wrong. Yeah, I have my training. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Oh, my, you're right, sorry. I can.
No, I.
How do you do something? We could just add it. Just add it.
When you cry.
When it's dry, it's red. Yeah, there's a beauty to that.
And when it's dry.
Like I tried that, and they didn't like the way it's.
No, I'm sorry, I don't lie.
You can water it down.
No.
See how it like this.
Oh, no. It's not terrible.
Oh, okay. It's from the middle, it's nice and cool, but they're supposed to remain thin, right?
Right, so what I did was I mixed the darker colors.
Where do you get this?
Unless you want price.
Which line?
What color do you?
Which lines? What lines? Oh, the thick ones? I use a little bit of the brown with the green.
Here, this kind of color there, here, this one, and you're.
I added them when they were like.
This one here is mixing. No, that's wrong. Here, right here is better. Some of the gray. We're not gonna mix it on all the gray.
I don't know, it's wet.
Don't wait for it comes too bad, don't act like you.
And then never comes out.
I'm not afraid.
One has a problem, come out to me.
What do you think? Nicer? You can use this for the steps too.
I think you know.
I think I just said that once already.
You're not halfway there.
I know.
What you're gonna, I wish I
Nice.
had.
You're there.
I loved it. Right then.
What else?
You want to put them on?
The steps? Yeah.
What do you think?
It's just so you.
Yeah.
I hope she is. I don't know. I just know.
I know the barn you have today.
There's a mat. You took the mat out and you took the masking tape. Well, nice to be the gray tape.
He stuck it on the wall.
And he sold it for millions of dollars.
That's
right.
Okay. We took it back. So this is fine.
As I don't know.
It's disgusting.
Kind of fun, because you see the rose red and green and whatever.
Relaxing. I come home like I never saw.
Oh, yeah, no, that was the picture she put up, and this is how she.
Are you going down the side?
I did it a little hardly my lines because. My lines.
I don't know.
Hardly draw, I did, I draw.
Yes?
with my brush. Oh, yes, she did say.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's her favorite circle. And she did only one.
My daughter got 4, 5, my daughter
Yeah, 6 in our. There were 2 small ones, there's 6. 1 is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Basically, this is what I'm kind of saying. And 5 is later. See, I put more of them. I do it now. What she gave me. This way, so it's different people do. So basically, it's almost. Yeah. That's fine. You know, the rest of the point. Anytime.
Yeah.
Right?
I would almost like create like a.
It's a very nice.
That makes sense. No, they don't. But you have a lot of. You really?
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
It's.
But you want it to top, right? Yeah.
Next Monday.
Oh.
But yeah, so I.
Oh, the 20th. Right.
This is the hard reader. This is a lot of bigger block. This is.
There's the lines are in.
Yeah, of course. See, you understood that as.
Are you not getting enough?
I'm done.
Well, maybe what is it? Somewhere.
Very soft.
If I had less water, maybe it would be nice.
Be accountable, right? But if you ever want more
Yeah, but they're, you know.
Yeah, I really like this. And it's very, I like it. Pull off the edge, it might make a really nice difference, but pull away from your paint tonight, right? I really like it. Ooh, I love this, which is going on here. I just, didn't you do this? I think we just want to, and I use. Like little. Okay. This is great. I really like it.
It's still controlled.
Got one of them looking great.
You identified, you defined.
Yeah, the
You
feet is very.
define line and you do the weeks. I went a little bit like they did water showing the lines, but
I think that's what I
the
see.
age shows some of them.
Okay, yeah, but like do what makes sense, right?
Yeah,
So
that's
it doesn't make sense, yeah. But just send it down and we're casting a little bit. Or even like. Yeah. Yeah, don't do what you see, do what makes sense. Fun.
Yeah.
I like this.
I want.
Very, always.
Wow, my
How do you know you don't like it out?
I want a good dentist.
Well,
I think you do a good job.
Some areas are.
Gender is.
I like it's more like.
Yeah, I can like loading it on. You know what? It's because you don't have the shot shading right. Because it doesn't look like you're looking up, it looks like you're looking down. So what I would almost consider you to do is like start connecting the branches, add branches in it, and then we'll start like lights floating on top of the clouds. You know how many times? You're such a liar.
Because you know what? I always.
Okay, I never mind.
I never, because I used to draw.
Oh, yeah.
She drew lines, she drew and was able to draw the trace. And stopped drawing and I traced.
What we are, if you're interested, next semester, I have a drawing class at the other location.
I don't drive.
Oh.
I don't like drawing, I just like the arts. And then the thing.
I love drawing. I love all of it. I love.
Oh, but your
Because
sculpture
it's too
was.
frustrating.
There was an artist who explored the love of labor, and I really have a love for the labor that is art. The like tediousness of like, I love it. I could sit there and to really like get my body into it and like really like bending chicken wire. But I loved every second of it because I just loved getting my body into it. It's super meditative. Like I have a love of the labor of art. I love doing the art.
I always wanted to be sculpture.
You can have the opportunity.
I don't have the next I don't have the,
That is the first like real sculpture. I've always been working on like little sculptures. That was the first real sculpture I did. I didn't realize what a physically labor exercise sculpturing is. Like my back shoulders were sore. I was spray painting yesterday like this the whole time, and now my legs are sore. Like I didn't realize what a labor that sculpture was on the body, and it maybe gives me a whole new like appreciation for sculpture now that I've done it, and I'm like, wait, shit. Like, yeah, carving into stone, there's talent there, but the physical, like, I never considered how physically draining it would be to sit there and whittle away at this giant slab of soapstone, you know?
You ever watch, Artist of the Year?
I don't know.
There was, and it was funny because there's a competition. And one of the artists, and I'm surprised that they allowed her in the competition because she traced the portrait and she won. She traced the portrait. Okay, that's what I did all my life.
Yeah.
And she won, and I was in shock, like, why would they give it to her when she can't draw? Funny, eh? Her artwork was gorgeous.
Well, there you go. There's a skill in the artwork too. Drawing is not the only skill. It's all transferable.
But it's frustrating, the drawing.
I deeply remember being in high school and even college, up until my like mid-20s. And it wasn't until my like mid-20s that like it started clicking, because there was always like this disconnect between my brain and what I was visualizing in my head and what my physical arm can do.
I know.
Yeah. But now, like, I have an understanding of it, but it's something that clicked in my mid-20s. But it took a decade of drawing, of pushing through that frustration to finally get there. And it's like, and because you're building for your visual, spatial knowledge. Yeah, go ahead. I feel like I barely painted today. I mostly walked around and talked everywhere.
But that's a good job.
You are correct. I would really hate to do that. I really like the subtle shadows you have though underneath that blue. Very
Yeah, make them pop eventually.
Matt, I challenge you to find some aspect of your painting that you love. And that's it. Just judge it off of that one aspect. You know? That one thing was a success.
I was always able to control.
But if she were an architect or something, nothing would fall down. Her building, she checks everything. Not like the words, but that build her.
Don't even.
Mention it.
My car is like so not happy with me.
Okay, you're gonna have to wait, we're gonna clean it up, okay?
What's not terrible about it, Nat? You say it's not terrible. Elaborate on that. Elaborate on that. What's not terrible? What do you like about it? What makes it bearable?
I just blended.
The blending? There you go. Being able to identify the successes makes it like easier to start like understanding.
Yeah, because then you said, oops, I did this not right, and you go on, and the next one is a little bit better, yeah.
Yep. So like forcing you guys to, when you're like, I don't like it, and pinpointing what you don't like helps build your knowledge and your knowledge base of that.
It's great that you take the water. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Water lilies, for some reason, is one of those subjects I could paint forever and ever and ever. Monet really had it right.
Oh, yes, he did. Thank you, thank you.
Thanks, guys, for this class. I was so tired beforehand, but now I feel rejuvenated. I think I needed to engage with people. My extroverted nature needed to come out.
Back there.
Do you think there's, even though I only halfway finished this painting, there's still like a reason to post this online, or do you think because it's only half finished? Whose? Mine. Like, cause I just recorded this whole thing, but I feel like I did more walking around than I usually do.
Yeah. Oh,